El Paso, Texas, a rather large city considering its location. With a population of 685,000, the city is nestled in the Franklin Mountains. Plus, El Paso neighbors Mexican city Juarez. This has its downsides, though. Border crossings are a common sight in El Paso. Unlike other areas of the border, like Del Rio or McAllen, the Rio Grande doesn't play as important of a role in a migrant's journey. Instead, migrants end up making a short trip through the desert or go right into the city. That affects the lives of those who live right on the border, including the Chacones. The fence on their property is the border wall. Migrants often hop right into their backyard. Some ask why they don't just move, but there's a reason. Dolores Chacon's family came to the United States in the 1800s and settled down pretty much immediately. They built a house with their own hands. Dolores Chacon is now taking care of it. Dolores is a Republican, while her husband, Rogelio, is a Democrat. I spoke to both of them about what they would like to see done about the border.
We're so close to the border, we talked to a lot of the border patrol agents, and she has some friends that are border patrol agents, and the stories that they tell are just, they're terrible stories. They upset your stomach because they're so sad. Mothers throwing their kids over that fence, and I think you've seen the video where the kids land, and hopefully they don't get hurt or they get a broken leg or something. Nobody likes to see the suffering that they're going through. A Border Patrol agent was telling us of a mother who she got her child, she jumped over, but instead of coming over with her child, she actually threw her child over the fence back into Mexico. And she kind of kept looking both ways. So the decision she made of getting arrested or taking care of her child, she decided to get arrested. The Border Patrol agents are just overwhelmed with those things. What is he supposed to do? He can't go help the child, and the child's there by herself. It was like a little girl. And they're telling us these stories that they see.
I just say we need to control the border. I know people will cross over. I understand that. But we cannot have the massive migration. I saw it. When this fence went up, I thanked who voted for it. Obama voted for it. Hillary voted for it. Biden voted for it. All your Democratic senators voted for it. Now they're against it.
Why do you think that is?
The fence.
Like, why do you think they're against it now after,
Well, now, because it's political. It's so political. They don't understand how it affected people living alongside the border. I couldn't be out here. I could not be out here. I couldn't water my one plant. I couldn't enjoy my backyard because I had men crossing over, cutting this fence. I had men underneath my cars. I had men in my backyard, in my room. I had them under my van. I had them on the roof. I had no life.
And then they would tell her, well, why don't you move? But this is her great-grandmother's house. She wants to live here. She wants to take care of it. She wants other people to buy homes here and fix them up, and maybe we can start something like they've done in other parts of the city. So is it really fair for us to move when she likes to be here?
This is my home. Why should I move? Are you going to expect for this whole community to move? They all feel the same way. So where's the border? So they're going to overrun this. So where are we going to have the border? Downtown? Where? The solution is we need to protect the border. We need to protect the country, people's lives.
Now the neighbor next door, he doesn't have a window guard, so they broke into his apartment. They ate his food for one day, and they stole some things. By the time he came home at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, things have been taken from him. And it's really unfair because he works hard. He's an electrician, and he works hard for his money, and he's saving his money to buy other things, and to just have things taken away from him, which is why we need to protect our home, and we do as much as we can. The strategy that I use, like in the mornings, you always have to kind of look around before you open the door, and we always lock. We're always in the habit of locking the door behind you. I can't leave the door open because someone could wander in there. And then as soon as I check, then I open the door slowly, then I come out, but always in the idea of seeing for evidence if someone is in the backyard. Maybe a flower pot has been turned over, or there's some clothing. The clothing that they use to travel, they leave it here, and then they have some fresh clothing, but they think they won't be seen as easily.
Protecting people is racist. It's being humane. It's not about black, it's not about brown, it's not about white. It's not. It's about safety and security for all.
It's kind of like helping your own kids. You see your kid playing out on the street. Son, don't play on the street. Cars are coming by. You protect them. And what else can we do to protect the people that we see that are like us? They're Hispanic. They're just like us. I don't know what else we can do.
After that captivating conversation with the Chicons, we move on to our next location. As we cross a shallow Rio Grande in El Paso, Texas, we enter the American Eagle Brick Company, where a wall is built, a stretch of wall going up a mountain. But it's not just any wall. It wasn't built by the government. It's called the People's Wall, and that's because it was privately funded, and these bricks you see here have names engraved on them. That's people who donated money to have the wall built. It was constructed a few years ago in less than a week. And it actually is very helpful. I spoke with Border Patrol agents who were there with me, who weren't on camera, but they explained why it's so helpful.
Because, well,
they'll send a sacrificial group at one place, and then they send the important people through someplace else at the same time.
Well, and you see on their side how they have also the mountains. They'll set up there in spot for hours, sometimes days, to find out the routines, the trends, whatever the agent is doing, and they'll wait for the right time.
In the few years that the wall has been in place, less than 5 people have been able to successfully get over the wall. And that says a lot considering its location. The American Eagle Brick Company is where Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico meet, near the Sunland Park area, which is extremely busy and includes the trafficking of both drugs and people very commonly. So it really says a lot to how helpful it is. And this wall will continue to help Border Patrol for the years to come, especially during the ongoing border crisis. The next location we visit is actually rather close to the People's Wall, Sunland Park, New Mexico. It's an area that keeps Border Patrol agents extremely busy, and many of the people that cross here don't want to be caught. Sunland Park is just across the state line from El Paso. The area has difficult terrain, but one thing that also poses a challenge for Border Patrol agents is the railroad tracks that run along the wall. And none of these tracks are tunnels. Drainage tunnels, often used by migrants to hide or evade agents and their heat-seeking cameras. Whenever a train is going over, it can be difficult for Border Patrol agents to pursue migrants. When we were in Sunland Park this night, we came across a group of migrants being detained by Border Patrol. Now, transport vans such as this one are definitely not meant for off-roading at all, and could easily get stuck in a rut or sand in a terrain like this. This van did actually get stuck in some sand, but was able to get out eventually. So from there, we moved on to a different and more desolate spot of Sunland Park. There we found yet another drainage tunnel. This one definitely longer and more cramped, and it went under a mountain where the train went over. Now, Border Patrol agents most likely aren't going to go through this, but migrants will. So I went down there in the cramped tunnel, which is a benefit of being short. And I found the reminiscence of migrants, water bottles, clothing, and more. So I went deeper and deeper, and found pretty much more of the same, but it got a little bit tighter. From there we went up kind of a small mountain up to where the railroad tracks were. Now, we are actually riding with a journalist who knows the area well. He grew up here, and he continues to report on the border. The area he took us to is where he said cartel snipers actually post up on the Mexican side, on top of a mountain, which is probably about 100 to 200 feet above where we were. So obviously, I went outside and recorded.
Like the Border Patrol come back here? Yeah, but very rarely. They'd rather try to catch these people away from snipers up on the corner, up on top of the mountain.
So they will, they don't care about taking shots.
Oh, well,
But just for a couple of people, see, that just seems like...
with us being up here right now, we're probably being watched. You can jump down right here real quick and
see it.
point your camera down, and people, migrants come around this mountain. There's a little pathway right here.
I can see a tunnel right there, like some sort of like
It's been covered up. Quick, you gotta do it quick.
So we got out and I looked around for a little bit and then we headed back down to where we were originally. The next day I went back to the Sunland Park wall area and had a rather interesting encounter with some Mexican children on the other side. And their parents as well, who actually came up, started yelling at us and asked us for money while pointing a laser at us. That was a rather interesting twist I did not expect. This went on for a few more minutes, and then I struck up a conversation with a Border Patrol agent who was telling me about how the Mexican police on the other side of the wall actually help out, the smugglers that is. They'll use their spotlights to signal the smugglers when it's clear to cross. And this happens fairly often. We actually saw it take place firsthand. And the Sunland Park area is really interesting and very important. In fact, just about 100 yards down the wall is where the infamous video of the baby being tossed over the wall was. You may have seen that on the news. Sunland Park is an important piece to the border story, so I really wanted to be able to highlight how important it actually is. The people of El Paso will continue to see their city as a major crossing point. To at least slow the flow of migrants and drugs, something has to be done to increase security. Until it happens, I would not expect to see a productive change. El Paso deserves better, and America deserves better. I'm Phoenix with Phoenix Rising in America, and this is our country.